Welcome to C.H.A.O.S Podcast. I am your host, Terry Lynn. I am a virtual assistant, bookkeeper, and international business strategist. I love leveling up, creating strategies, and thinking outside of the box, especially with serial entrepreneurs because we are impacting the world with new innovations, community collaboration, and global technology. We will discuss strategies that stifle mental chaos so that you can create habits and outstanding success. Right here on C.H.A.O.S. Good afternoon, Dr. Trina. Is it Boice?
Boice, like voice, but
like
with a B.
Yes. Good afternoon, fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing great, except for I'm in Vegas, and so it's not even afternoon here yet.
What time is it?
It is 10:55 a.m.
You have the whole day ahead of you. I'm so jealous.
What's the future look like in Georgia?
Beautiful, of course. Who would say anything different?
Of course. So you and I have talked. I lived in Georgia for 15 years. We loved it. Beautiful, green, Southern hospitality. You know, I grew up in California. And I heard about Southern hospitality and I didn't get it. I didn't know what it was. And then when my husband and I moved to Georgia, we were like, oh, this is Southern hospitality. I remember driving, through the neighborhood, people are waving and he'd look at me, do you know them? I'm like, no, I thought they knew you, and people are just friendly. I love that.
Now, Georgia, first of all, welcome to C.H.A.O.S. Creating habits and outstanding success. Okay, we did that. We did that. So coming to Georgia, was that before or after you became a university professor?
Way before.
Way before.
When I first got married, my husband was living in Georgia. Even though he's from California, both of us grew up and were raised in California, but I was actually working in Spain at the time, and I came back. We had met in college, and then I went to Spain. He went to Georgia, and so when I came back, we started dating again. He proposed. I said yes. So I moved to Georgia, where technically we got married in California, but we started living in Georgia together as husband and wife, bought our first house, had all of my babies in Georgia.
4 sons?
I have 4 Georgia peaches, all born in Georgia. Yeah.
Now, Did you start writing your books while you were in Georgia or afterwards? Because you got 31 books. Are they all bestsellers?
They are. They're all nonfiction.
My goodness.
They're all on a variety of topics. So I started writing in Georgia. I actually started writing when I was a little girl.
Oh.
I remember writing in elementary school and, I thought, oh, my papers are the best. And the teachers would hang them up on the wall and I kept them. I was so proud. And then years later, of course, I looked back at them and I just thought, these are not special. Any kid could have written that. And I realized, okay.
Whatever. They were special. Don't ever take your childhood away. They were special.
Well, something magical happened in my childhood that I wanted to talk about with you today and with your audience, because I think it's a significant lesson. And that is, when I was a little girl, I went into our garage. In America, American homes, or American garages, I should say, are usually filled with junk, right? And so I was curious to see what was in our garage. I think I was 5 or 6 years old. And so I was just kind of exploring and opening up boxes and, just like kids do. And I found this little 3x5 index card box, like a little metal one. Can you picture that?
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I opened it up and inside were all these little index cards. And in my father's handwriting were a bunch of inspirational quotes. And I was fascinated. I thought, these are the coolest things forever. And why are they discarded in the garage. And so I took them out of the garage, asked my dad if I could keep them. And he said, sure. He obviously wasn't using them. And I just thought they were such a treasure. And in that moment, I knew I was going to be a writer. I knew something told me, hang on to these inspiring quotes. You're going to use them in your future books. And I didn't know what books I was going to write, but I knew I was going to be an author, and I knew that I was going to write things that inspired other people, or that my attempt was to inspire others. And
talk about blessings. Talk about blessings. We were talking about blessings earlier. If that is not a blessing, I mean, you started out with content for books, like when you
I did. So not only that, but I started with this little index card box. And then as I collected more quotes and stories and things, I put them in a shoe box. And then I moved them into a bigger box, and then another box. And then I had, I'm not even kidding, 12 filing cabinets full of quotes and stories and visual aids that were going to go with them. And I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with them all, but I knew I wanted to share them immediately. Anytime I discover something that's inspiring to me, I instantly have that desire to share it. So that kept telling me, turn this stuff into content that you can use to bless others. And so it has resulted in 31 books on a variety of topics. And get this, a daily podcast called Daily Inspirational Quote, hosted by Trina Boice. I didn't know about podcasts.
Right. I love how that works. Now, you went from corporate to your own business, right?
I did. Yeah.
Why?
Well,
you weren't ready.
My husband and I have owned a real estate appraisal business for many, many years, our whole marriage, basically. And so I worked with him for many, many years. And then another real estate appraisal company wanted me to work my marketing magic with them. So I did some stuff with them. And that was great. And I loved working with my husband. I was able to work at home while we raised our kids, while he would go out and do the field work. And I would be nursing a baby while I was typing up appraisals at the same time. And
I love it.
We did that for many, many years. And then finally, we actually moved back to California. My husband.
Wait. Let me interrupt you for a minute. Let me just interrupt you for a minute, because I want our audience to take note. They say that we can be a mother and be a success in business. Yet, you just said you were nursing and typing at the same time. You tell us we can't multitask.
Women can definitely multitask.
We can be president. People take note. We can be president because we can multitask like no other gender. And yes, I'm going to say it out loud. We can multitask. Thank you for that note. Take note, people. We can do this. And so you moved after that?
So we were in Georgia. I started writing my books. Back in the day, before the internet, I had to write a query letter and snail mail it to publishers. And so I did that for many years with different manuscripts. And it was really hard to get into the publishing world back then, especially as an unknown author. Publishers don't want to risk on an unknown author. And so we moved to California, and I'm trying to think, the internet had been invented. That's why we moved, because my husband, I'm trying to remember the sequence of events here. My husband's father was diagnosed with cancer, and he was in California. And so he said, what are we doing in Georgia? I want to get back to where my parents are and help them. And so because the internet had just been invented, that doesn't make us sound like dinosaurs?
Oh, well. we do know some things that the youngsters
Yeah.
don't know.
You know, as a little girl, I always wondered what's going to be invented that my own grandkids are going to be amazed by. So because of the internet, we were able to move to California and still run our appraisal company in Georgia, you know, which was such a blessing. And so we were able to spend time with my husband's dad before he finally passed. But so in California, I was still trying to submit manuscripts, but now I could do it online and things started happening. And so I found my very first publisher who was excited, and we pumped out a bunch of books. And once you get that first book published, it's so much easier to publish the other ones because now you're an experienced, known author. And for years, people have asked me, you know, how do you hit number one? And I thought I should pay for all of the good advice I'm giving. And so I became an author coach.
Yes. Yes. So you'll teach us how to make our books bestsellers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Formula.
Sign me up. Sign me up. Sign me up. I have 5 unpublished books.
You know, I think that's awesome. I think everybody has a book inside them, but life happens. People are busy, and a lot of those amazing books never go published, you know.
So tell us about your business now. Tell us, you know, give us not an overview, give us some details about your business now.
Well, so I have people that come to me. You're so awesome. And you have the most amazing smile. For those who are listening to the podcast, you've got to run over to YouTube to her channel and see her. She's got, look at that. You've got an amazing smile. But anyway, people will come to me, and sometimes they already are published authors, but the books aren't selling. You know, writing it is a lot of work, but so is marketing it. And a lot of writers don't think about marketing until after it's written. And you really should be embedding certain elements into your book while you're writing them to help prepare you for the marketing aspects. Yeah, for sure. So I love it when I get a new client who's in the process of writing, because then we can really optimize that book for marketing later on. But then, so I do get clients that are just like you. They're right in the middle of the writing process, which is awesome. And then it takes several months to build up a #1 best-selling launch. So that's why I love getting new writers, you know, who are just starting out. But like I said, I have authors who come to me and they're like, oh, I have 5 books and they're not selling. I've got them all sitting in my garage. You know, what do I do? And so sometimes we have to change the book cover, sometimes even the title, maybe revamp some of the content inside, and then we can either relaunch it or look at the existing medium or collateral, the marketing collateral.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So you said it takes several months to launch the book.
Yeah.
During that launch period, is that like rewriting the book and editing and illustrating, or is that the actual process of marketing the book?
Could be both. It depends on the book, what kind of condition it's in. But part of the launch strategy that I have is you've got to go through beta readers, you know, that will read it and offer tips to make it better with a marketing perspective. There are different types of editing. There's, you know, like line editing where you're going through and you're cleaning up the sentence grammars and the structure. Then there's marketing editing where I'm reading the book from a marketing perspective and saying, oh, we need to add this here or do that there, you know, that kind of stuff. There are actually 5 or 6 different types of editing that we go through. But part of it is building a launch team. We call them in marketing speak, we call it a street team. Okay. So we build that up, and some new writers don't have a platform. So we've got to build up a marketing funnel, which could include social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, wherever it is your audience is going to be found, where they hang out. And so it's super important to be crystal clear on who your target audience is. Like if it's women, then and it depends on the age. If they're young, they're absolutely on the gram and they might be on Pinterest. And if they're older, they're hanging out on Facebook, so it's super important to be crystal clear on your target audience because it determines everything about your marketing.
Right.
Who you market to, where, when you market, all of that. Right. So a lot of writers want to launch their book and they, if they self-publish, they throw it out on Amazon and they hit publish, but nobody knows it's there. So you've got to build an audience. So I teach writers how to build lead magnets in marketing speak and writing. We call them reader magnets and all of that kind of stuff.
Reader
so that
magnets.
So you're building a community so that when you launch your book, they're excited because you've been building anticipation and saying it's coming, and people love the behind the scenes action, as you're telling them, oh look, this is the cover, or help me name characters in my book if it's a fiction book. People love that. And anyway, there are so many things that you can do to build that anticipation, build that marketing collateral, so that when you launch, you've got a bunch of fans already who are super excited for you and will buy that book. And then, go on.
You are phenomenal. I mean, you are the bestseller person. You are it. I love it. I know you mentioned that you were in corporate, and I know you're a university professor now. Is that the corporate, or were you in a different corporate?
No. So you and I had talked before about this corporate gig I had and some of the life lessons that I learned that I think your audience is really going to appreciate, because as C.H.A.O.S, it's all about these creating habits, right? So I'm going to read you a quote and then I'm going to tell you my corporate story. So this is a quote that fits beautifully in with your podcast theme. I got to put my glasses on to read this name. This is you'll understand when you hear the name. It's an Indian name, so it's like 1,000 letters long. It's Paramahansa Yogananda.
Wow.
And
I say that 3 times, right?
Right. I'm not sure. I think that's a female name. But anyway, I love the quote. The quote is, success is hastened or delayed by one's habits. It's not your passing inspirations or brilliant ideas so much as your everyday mental habits that control your life.
Yes.
Right?
Fabulous.
Okay. Yes, that's such a great quote.
Fabulous.
So when I do my podcast, I always share an inspiring quote, tell you a little bit about the author, share a personal story or another story that illustrates that point. And then I offer a unique challenge on how do you incorporate those lessons, those principles into your everyday life. So I think this quote describes them as mental habits, which is another way of describing that is saying mindset, right?
Now, did that come from the corporate transition? Or is that something that you just live by?
Well, I'm trying to live by mindset, but let me tell you what happened in this corporate experience that I had. I'd worked with several companies over the years, but the last corporation that I worked with, I was really excited to work with. I believed in their products and I was excited about the people. I was hired as the national marketing director, and marketing strategy is my expertise. So I just thought, oh, this is home. This is me. I'm totally going to just crush it here. And I did for a few years, but I quickly learned that there was some dysfunctional habits and traditions and culture at this company that were not my favorite thing in the world, to put it mildly. But what happened is the company was owned by 2 brothers, and there was a lot of dysfunction going on there. And people in the company always put their head down because at any given moment, one of the brothers could come in drunk and just start firing people, and was very irrational and sporadic in his demeanor. And so people were scared and nervous. Crazy stuff like that went down. And I just looked around at me and thought, this is not how to run a company, you know? And so ultimately, without telling you all of the gory details, I just realized this is not a company culture that where I can thrive and be valued and really grow. And I was feeling increasingly unhappier. But what happened, the nail in the coffin was one of the presidents decided to hire a new vice president, and she came in and just wiped out departments, brought in her own people. Her own
yeah,
staff.
I've been through that.
Yeah. And it's not uncommon, but just was wiping out departments and dramatically changing the company and making decisions that I was not agreeing with. And so ultimately
it's disheartening. It's disheartening.
It is. And so I actually was laid off, and I was shocked.
Good.
You know, talk about blessings.
Right, exactly.
But at the time, if you've ever been, I mean, I'd never been laid off before. I gave my life to this company. I made millions of dollars for this company, saved them millions of dollars. I mean, I did crush
the company,
yes. But was discarded by this new person who didn't know me, didn't understand what I had done for the company. Didn't care. Yeah. And I was crushed. You know, I felt like I was crushing it, but ultimately I felt crushed. And
how did you recover from that?
That's a great question. And it's really hard because it came so unexpected. And I know a lot of people during COVID are experiencing this. People have lost their jobs, lost their foothold at different companies. Could be everything has changed. And so I know a lot of people have been experiencing this. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this today with you. What the first thing that happened was immediately my twin sister said, "Oh, girl, we're going to go out to lunch. I'm going to tell you why you're amazing, because you become so deflated. You question your self-esteem, your value, you question everything. And it's such a blow to your self-esteem to not be wanted by a company, right?" So she took, bless her heart, she took me out to lunch, well, I don't drink alcohol, but she wined and dined me and pumped me up, she literally wrote a list of all of my good qualities.
Yeah, I love her. Yes.
I'm so grateful that, I mean, not everybody has a twin sister, but you got to find somebody in your life who can build you back up, because it really did tear me down and I was floundering. But, so immediately after that, I started, looking for jobs and realized that ageism is a thing in the corporate world.
Yes.
And you and I both have doctoral degrees, lots of degrees and education and years of experience. And I thought, oh, I'm going to easily snag another gig, and weeks went by, months went by, and I was flabbergasted. I have a brother who's an attorney at, I won't say the name of the company because I don't want to get the company or him in trouble, but it is a very famous company. And if I told you the name of it, and he admitted in private to me, ageism is alive and well, that if you are over a certain age, there is no chance you're going to get hired. And more companies are like that. And I'm not 100 years old. Do I look it?
Oh, no, not it. You don't even look old enough to have 31 bestsellers. That sounds like it would have taken like more years than you've been alive.
Oh, you're so kind. Anyway, I just was flabbergasted, and I just thought, okay, if I am not hireable at my age, what am I going to do? And that's during all of this time, I was writing books and sharing my advice. And I thought, all right, I'm going to just turn this into my own company and take control of my own life. Because if you don't take control of your life, someone else will. And it may not be the goals that you really want, right? So that's what I did. So that's kind of how I got started coaching as an author coach. I've done business coaching as I have my doctoral degrees in management. So I've coached small businesses over the years, specifically with marketing. But anyway, so yeah, so I've got several companies. I started creating online courses, and that's a different entity, a different company. And of course, I sell my books. And all along, well, the first part-time job I got after being laid off was teaching at a university. And it was actually originally teaching online long before COVID. I've been teaching with that university for 9 years online, and they have been one of the universities on the leading edge of online learning. And I love that. I mean, how awesome is technology that you and I get to hang out online?
Yes, I love it. I
love it too.
That is a fabulous story. And yes, my audience, my major audience are business women, and they come from a long line of chaos to have successful businesses. So you're definitely preaching to the choir. And just to know that there is another one of us that have survived and have been crushed and have crushed it anyway. I told you, we could be president easily.
I think one thing that's happening with the pandemic is it's giving us an opportunity. Rather than looking at the negative, it's giving us an opportunity to reinvent ourselves and to see what else can I do. We can do so much more than we realize. And so I mentioned I have all these online courses, and one of my courses is on managing anxiety, depression, and stress. And once COVID hit, that became my number one bestseller, sadly, because so many women are my predominant buyers. So many women are really struggling. And so now I have a new course coming out. It'll be available in April.
Okay.
It's called Finding Your Life's Purpose. And those two kind of go together, you know, especially if you're laid off and you don't know, it's depressing and it's super stressful. And so they're both designed to be empowering, help you find your life purpose. Like even when when I was a little girl, I had that whispering in my heart, I believe from God saying, this is what you're going to do. And so I have in the course, various steps and exercises and activities that I walk you through to help you figure out what is your life's purpose. And a lot of those clues come from when you were little, like when you were a little girl. What did you want to do?
Yeah, I think that our passion comes from being a little girl. I have actually spoken on that before. So I totally agree with you that our passion, our purpose, I mean, I think that we have purpose every day, and every moment we're in our purpose. Whatever we're doing at the moment is what we're supposed to be doing. But of course, like you asked me, yes, I'm a Christian. So I believe that we're guided. And if we stay in alignment, then we are serving our purpose all the time. But our passion that fuels a huge purpose, I think comes with us when we're born. I think there are cogs in the wheel of the universe, and we have our own cog in the wheel. And I tell people, don't try to do it alone. As a virtual assistant and business consultant, don't try to do it alone, because if we were only supposed to do it alone, there would only be one person on the earth.
I have thought that exact same thing. So we're here together for a purpose. And one of my all-time favorite quotes is by an Italian, Luciano de Crescenzo. And he says, we are each, you're going to love this. and maybe you've heard it before. We are each of us angels with only one wing, and we can only fly embracing each other.
Oh, that is fabulous. That reminds me of a logo my daughter just did for it's a for-profit called Mending Broken Wings. And so she did this logo where something is flying. I guess it's a butterfly, something's flying, but the wings are fluttering off of them till they dissipate, but only on one side. So when you said the one wing, that reminded me of that. That is wonderful.
I love the metaphor of a butterfly. You know, a caterpillar is cute. It's fuzzy. They crawl around on the ground and you're like, that's adorable. And then when they create that chrysalis and they kind of are in hibernation, like the quarantine we're all experiencing, right? It comes out, emerges through struggle. It's got a, part of that is when it goes through that or squeezes out of the chrysalis, it actually is pumping important bodily fluids to where they need to go to build that strength in their wings, right? You've probably heard that. And then it emerges as a completely new creature that can fly. And the butterfly, of course, is beautiful, and it experiences a completely new, different type of life. And I think that this whole quarantine, the whole pandemic, I have found it to be fascinating because, again, it's allowing us to look at our lives, look at the life we were living before. It might have been cute, but we were crawling on the ground, you know. The life we had before wasn't perfect. No. But now during this quarantine, we can emerge as new creatures, better creatures, flying, soaring to new heights. Whether you have a new job, you know, or lost your job and have to reinvent yourself, or just redesigning your daily life, like you said, the habits that you now have. I think somebody once said, when we emerge from this quarantine or this pandemic, we're either going to be a hunk because we've used our time to exercise, right, and eat well, or a junk because we've been eating our emotions. And what's the other one? A hunk, a chunk, or a drunk?
Oh, my.
So how we emerge from this will reveal the habits that we've chosen during this pandemic period. And I think that's so interesting.
Yes, because chaos, creating habits and outstanding success comes from trauma, comes from experience, comes from challenges in your life. So, Dr. Trina Boice, thank you so much for coming with us and sharing your chaos and the habits that you have formed for your outstanding success. We look forward to your course that's coming out in April. And audience, do look at the show notes because the link will be in there. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
I have a special gift for your listeners, your audience. So to help, if they are currently experiencing this questioning of what is my life's purpose, I have a little worksheet that I can send them. They just have to email me at support@lifelonglearningeducation.com. That's kind of a long name there. And I will send it to them, and it will walk them through some different activities to help them become more clear. And clarity brings power and strength. So that clarity will help them to know how to move forward. So support@lifelonglearningeducation.com.
And what we can do for them, which would even be easier for them to get that wonderful gift you're going to get them, is we will put that on your listening gift. So they can go to listeninggift.com and get that wonderful gift that you're going to give them. That was perfect. I love it. See how that works? I love it. I love it. Good. Well, I hope that you have a brilliant day with your fabulous self. And I do look forward to corresponding with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This
You're
has been really
welcome.
fun to get to know you.
We can find you on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest and
Pinterest
LinkedIn
and Twitter and all of
yeah, it'll be in the
Yeah.
show notes, y'all. Y'all get it in the show notes. Get it in the show notes. We're gonna put it all in there.
Yay.
Yeah.
Well, what a blessing you are to your audience, providing them with resources and tools and daily inspiration. We all need that.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
I want to thank you for listening because this podcast is for you. And don't forget to get your listening gift. You can go to listeninggift.com. That's LISTENING gift.com. Compliments and constructive criticism are welcome. If there is anything you would like me to talk about, just hit me up. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Coach Terry Lynn. That is Coach T as in Tom, ERRILYNN. And remember, create habits and outstanding success with us right here on C.H.A.O.S.